Okay, students, today we're going to do, let me take this off, it's not necessarily online. Today we're going to do 15.4 and circles on a coordinate plane. What's a coordinate plane? When I have an x and a y axis. And we have different points on this plane. Okay, here you can see my circle. The center of the circle is a random h and k for an x coordinate and a y coordinate. And I've chosen a point P, x and y on the circumference, and you will notice that this will be my radius of this circle that I'm wanting to get the equation of the circle. What we're going to do is we're going to lengthen the side parallel to the x-axis and parallel to the y-axis. So this will be in a 90 degrees angle that we have here. This point, let's call it A. What will be the coordinate of that point? The x coordinate will be the same as point P. This P, the x coordinate will be x. So the x coordinate for this point A will also be x. The y coordinate will be the same as the y coordinate of C. The y coordinate of C is the point K. So the y coordinate will be that. Now we want to write down how long is, let's start on this side, this distance. So it is this x coordinate subtracting this x coordinate. So the distance that we have here will be x, which is that one, subtracting h. We have this distance x minus h. I want to use a different color. What will be the distance of this part, the vertical side of my little triangle that I have here? I need to take this highest y coordinate, and subtract this part here. And how do I know what is the y coordinate of this part? It's that one minus k. And now to write down an equation for my circle, how do I find the radius r? The radius, eventually we're going to say x minus h, x minus the x coordinate of this center. I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. Can you remember the Pythagorean theorem? If we have a triangle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared plus b squared equal the hypotenuse squared, opposite the 90 degrees angle. I'm going to use this theorem to write down an equation. And we're going to say this blue distance, x minus h squared, I must add, according to the Pythagorean theorem, the green part, y minus k squared. And this will be equal to the red radius squared. And there we have an equation for a circle with a center h and k and any points P on that circle. What will my equation look like? X minus the x coordinate of my center squared, always a plus sign, will never change. Y subtract, where's k? K is the same, we got the k from here, but it's the same as the y coordinate of the center. So the y coordinate of the center minus the y coordinate of the center squared equal to the radius squared. So my center will eventually be, I take this x minus h, whatever I have here in the bracket, and I make it 0, take the h over to the 0 side, x equals h. So you change the sign from where you move from this equation for the circle to what is the coordinates of my center. Y minus k, change that sign to a positive k. And I have a center. If I need the radius, what will the radius be? The radius will be that radius squared that is given in your equation, square root. So the radius squared, square root of that will give me the radius. Right, let's try. I've drawn a circle here. We must find the equation of this circle. And if I'm going to use my formula that I have here, I can say, I want to do it in red, x subtract the x coordinate, 7 squared. We said always a plus sign in between, then y subtract the y coordinate of my center. And this will be equal to the radius. Now, where do I find the radius? In this case, I can find the radius here. Both of these have a 7 and a 7 for an x coordinate. They're right vertically above each other. So from 5 to 2, or from 2 to 5, what will this distance be? And we can see it's 3. So it's equal to 3 squared. And if I write down my final answer, it will be x minus 7 squared plus, always a plus in between, y minus 5 squared, 3 times 3, if I square it, will be 9. Next they say find the center and the radius, and they give you the formula. So how do I find the center if I have this? Remember, the sign must change. Here's a plus 4, so my x coordinate changed the sign, negative 4. Here's my y minus 5. The y coordinate of the center, change the sign, make it positive, and there I have a center. What will the radius be? The radius, according to what we had here, take the square root of the 16. Square root of 16 is just 4. And we have an answer. Right, guys, almost done. I need to go and also find the center and the radius. This was 2.1, 2.2. Now it's not written with parentheses. So we must get a method going. How will we change it? Because if you have it in this form, it's quick and easy to write down the center and the radius. Now the method, and I'm going to give you only the shortcut method. I write my x and my x term, and I leave an open space. The plus sign, the y squared plus the 12y, leave an open space, negative 24. Okay. First I'm going to say, what do I fill in that open space? Always a plus sign. There will be a plus sign there too. Half of this 4. 4 divided by 2 squared. But if I add something on the left-hand side of this equation, I must add it on that side also. Now let's see, what is half of 4? It is 2 squared, but let's first write it maybe like that so that we can see. I add exactly on the left-hand side, exactly the same on the right-hand side. Plus sign, half of the y coordinate, y coefficient. So it is 12 divided by 2 squared. But if I add it on this side, I must add it on that side. 12 divided by 2 squared. Okay. What we're going to do next, we're going to say x squared minus 4x. Let's calculate 4 divided by 2 is a normal 2 squared. I'm going to leave the square there. There's a reason. Y squared plus 12y plus 6 squared. And on this side we have a minus 24. Now we can multiply out. 2 squared will become a 4. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Squared is 36. And on this side, I'm going to take these 3 and I'm going to factor it. Now you can go and practice your factorization, but the shortcut, take the x without the square, take the 2 without the square, put the square outside. You can see we're off to something looking like this formula. And how do I know what sign? This left-hand side sign. Minus sign goes in my bracket. Keep the plus sign, the y without the square, the 6 without the square, put the square outside. How do I know what sign? In this case, remember, that's always a plus. That's always a plus. So check the first one, which is not necessarily always a plus. That plus sign goes in there. And let's see, negative 24, 36 plus 4 is 40, subtract 24, so we have 16 here. And what will my center be? And what will my radius be? The center, change the sign. My x-coordinate is 2. Change the sign. My y-coordinate is negative 6. My radius is not 16. It's the square root of 16, which gives me 4. And then I want to do a last one. Does this point square root 5, 2 lies on a circle with a center at the origin, and it contains the points 0 and 3. Now let's write down what will the equation of my circle be. Center as the origin means x. What is the x-coordinate of the origin? It's a 0 squared. Y origin, y coordinate, this is 0, subtract